What if resilience isn't the goal anymore? Today's conversation with Jennifer El Hage will challenge everything you think about resilience, especially if you've ever been told that you just need to push through, stay positive, and keep going no matter what. Jen is leading women while living in a country that's actively being bombed. And instead of talking about resilience, she's introducing something different, something more powerful: resistance. Not loud, not performative, but deeply internal and grounded. Hear what it really means to lead, to feel, and to not shrink, even when everything around you is uncertain. Hey, Jen.
Hey, how are you?
Jen, you are smiling, but we know that there's a backdrop going on for you. We know that there's a pretty significant fear and some real big stuff happening because you're in Beirut. Jen, what was it like growing up in Lebanon?
First, I've been receiving a lot of calls of people saying, Jen, why don't you leave Lebanon? Why don't you always have a home? I have so many homes outside, and I'm so
Yes.
grateful that
Yeah.
outside. Yeah, and I'm very grateful for that. And I realized that literally my network is my net worth, and I'm so grateful for that. But no one ever will understand what it feels to be born in Lebanon, grow in Lebanon, and wanting to stay no matter what. I say that if you have a kid that is sick, you won't leave your kid because he's sick. So I have this kind of relationship today with my country, except that it feels like it's more of a cancer now.
Mm.
So the sadness is different.
Grief
We have
feels grief. Yeah.
a lot of grief. It's a different sadness that we're going through. But growing in Lebanon, I think, gave me a different set of tools than the rest of the world. I don't know if, like, really, with a lot of humbleness, I'm saying that, but because I saw myself how growing in Lebanon gave me the power of adaptability to situations. So the set of tools that I grew up with being Lebanese gave me a different kind of power and a different definition of what is joy, what is resilience, even though I'm tired a bit of that word.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
tired.
Same. Same. Yep.
I don't want to be resilient anymore because with the resilience, there's a lot of tiredness. We're like
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah.
So strong, we adapt. And I think, yeah, this, what defines us growing in Lebanon comes with a different definition of the adjectives that we know. So joy for me and peace for me is not just world peace anymore. At this
Mm.
point, you grow in Lebanon with no peace physically around you. You are forced to create a peace within.
Yeah.
So even when they ask me, "Are you at peace, or are you
Mm.
is it safe?" I was like, "I am safe.
I
I
love
am
that.
safe today.
Yeah.
I know that in my home that I just furnished a year ago because I lost my home last year with the previous war with Gaza. And for me, being safe is just being able to sleep and wake up, even though this time with the cancer spreading in the country, it's harder to put your head on the pillow at night.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, but growing in Lebanon is my biggest asset today because I see life differently.
Yeah.
I uh, I see peace differently, joy differently, and above all, strength and women differently. Because when I see women around me, women in Lebanon, the way they continue living with all the sadness and the emotional weight they carry, I kind of look at myself and say, wow, of course, I'm meant to be Lebanese and be born here to grow with such a woman. So, yes.
You are such a fixed point. You are such a grounding energy. And you're doing this for other women. Like it's just so incredible to me. So we will dig into this a little bit too. Jen actually has a boot camp. She actually, even in the midst of all this backdrop, is still meeting with women who are experiencing these things. Because you mentioned that the cancer has spread. This is not just one location experiencing this trauma this time. So this does feel new. Jim, what are you learning from these other women? Because I know in any boot camp situation, you are leading, but like hearing other people's stories, what are you learning from them?
Well, yesterday was a beautiful day gathering women who almost like wanting to cancel, but up until the last minute, we all had this, like waiting. Should we cancel? Should we not? Is it safe to do it together in Beirut or not? So up until midnight, we were still texting and seeing if it's gonna still be held or not. And all of them show up. And one of them is from south of Lebanon. Her village was just like completely eradicated now, and she still managed to be here present. And so for me to look at them, I had so many goosebumps throughout the day yesterday for the boot camp because seeing these women not wanting to give up. And why I do not choose the word resilient, because resilience comes with victimization and we won't accept be victims anymore. So that's why resilient makes us weaker. And so seeing all these women coming with so much grief, sadness, and tears, and feeling like creating a pocket of, I'm not going to even call it a bubble, it was a pocket in the middle of the war. We had warplanes hovering above our head. I was literally increasing the music to calm our nervous system. I put on some beautiful smell. And for the first time since the war started, we all forgot about the war. And I realized the power of women when they gather, they
God,
actually
yeah,
create resistance. And I felt that while war was watching us resisting it from the inside, and I was like, we are, this is resistance, is not giving up, is gathering, and yet allowing ourselves to dream. And for me, boot camps are more about rebooting a purpose because
yeah.
sometimes there's a beautiful analogy I want to mention that my great friend Alicia Wolf taught me when I did a bit of work with her, talked about the puzzle. She said, most of us want to build the puzzle without having the picture on the outside, not knowing what it's going to look like. So yesterday, we all came together, like together and together to kind of build again that puzzle picture, brick by brick, like piece by piece, we can actually look where we're heading towards. During these hard times, you kind of lose your purpose and vision constantly because you have to be in the present. And hope comes for future. So we tend to, our default like brain functions very much in the present, which is also a beautiful strength tool, which most of people cannot do. But out of default, we end up staying in the present moment because we cannot hope for much or build for the future. So yesterday was a gathering for also building that future picture on the puzzle. So every piece of the puzzle becomes easier because we can go back to the picture and look where we're going and what's going to look like. So it was just very incredible seeing all these women feeling safe to cry, to let go, to be angry. Anger was off the table for us. And, like the inherited way of dealing with war is like, you don't have to speak up, so you stay peaceful. I noticed that women from my mom's generation deal with a lot of resilience by playing the victim,
So just,
saying
yeah, it
history
happened to me again. It's happening to me again. Yeah.
and they're afraid to speak up, they're afraid to go out, they're afraid to live. Our generation is speaking up, is completely changing the inherited legacies of war, and we are completely building new ones
Yeah.
by gathering under the bombs, by like creating on purpose little pockets to dream and build that puzzle
Yes.
picture.
Yeah.
And the messages I received today from these women was all I needed actually to keep up. Our jobs were all stopped, and I don't know if even canceled now during, or like we are also paying the price of our job and our growth being stopped just like this with no notice. So
Yeah.
it's really nice to see that even though fear is there, we try to replace it with dreaming together and activating those dreams. I call them proactive dreams. I don't want to call them just dreams. Like, we're going to
I
activate them.
love that. Because it is like, it's not a soft intention. It's not a mantra. You guys are thinking about the bricks. You're thinking about what you're going to need, and you're not competing. You're not like, like you said, victimized by the situation. You're just proactively saying, this is what we're going to need. This is how we're going to move forward. And it's probably just like a sandcastle in some ways, where you build something, the water comes in and moves it. And it's painful to watch, because it's this beautiful, beautiful piece of art that you just made and put your heart into. But what's really profound in that moment is when you go back and rebuild again, you can see this time what could have been differently, or how you can express it in a different way, or create infrastructure to support the fact that this may be something that's always going to be in the backdrop, right? But there's a way to build a community and a way of thought different from the last generation. So I love that you said that, and that you were so willing to just say, the generation before us just handled it differently. And God, like I said, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in this leadership boot camp that you're doing, because it's amazing when you're in a group of women who have a shared purpose and don't shrink and are not afraid to share their experience as a way not to be victimized, but to support other people and validating where they're at. Is there anything like, I guess the big thing is, if you were in space and you wanted people to know from afar, not just in your community, about your experience, about what it's like to be a woman, because I'm assuming it's okay for everyone to get together right now from a safety perspective, or maybe they're asking people like COVID to not be together or to be in separate things. What does that look like? What does that feel? How are you organizing this?
It's interesting that you asked this question, because I was asking myself this morning, knowing that a year ago, I had to move out from an apartment I've been living in for 10 years, and that I make my safe space because of the previous war. And the previous war, I was more reactive and angry. The anger was there. Anger was out. I was in my body moving out an apartment where I remember in one day I had 13 men packing an apartment that carries a lifetime of memories. I was standing there. I was like, okay, Jen, as of today, you have to have a home within, and home is not this only space, it's within you. So I kept on, while breathing, to calm myself from having a panic attack, because I was so afraid of when the next bombs are coming. I kept on saying to myself, home is within, home is within, home is within. And ever since I moved out, it was very hard, because we didn't have time to grieve. I was grieving a relationship. I was grieving a country. I was grieving my home.
Yeah.
I didn't even have time to integrate all of this. So the only problem that we kind of constantly need to fight for is creating space to integrate, to be able to grieve properly. And this is something that I created myself when I talk about my trips. For me, traveling is like asking myself for permission to integrate and grieve, so I can come strongly. Because when you're in the middle of it all,
Yeah.
you are strong. You always find solutions, but integrating and grieving needs to be outside of this whole madness. So what I'm trying to do with the reboot camps is trying to find a space within this madness where we can integrate and grieve war after war and chaos after chaos. So the only wish I still am working on is to be able, for example, for this war that happened now, there is so much anger and so much sadness that I don't want to grieve now. I want to first express my anger, and I'm still trying to find ways and channels to do so, because it's not easy to be angry when you need to also seek for solutions. And I think this is my challenge today, to how can I express my anger
Yeah.
when I need to constantly be in an alert mode, when
Yeah.
you need to constantly be in a survival mode and alert Your body is constantly alerted.
Yes.
How can you be angry? When do you have time to be angry?
Well, it's
And
also,
this
I
is
mean,
something.
even just from a brain perspective, if you are in high alert, right, your limbic brain, right, you're reacting to everything around you. It doesn't give space. It doesn't give availability to that prefrontal cortex, like the part of your brain that like makes solutions and those sort of things. So that's a really good question. I was like, and maybe that's part of the tactic, right? Maybe the part of the tactic is that if it's constantly happening, it's causing people to be in more chaos. And that's actually the trauma. Does that
I
feel,
know.
wow? I was like, it's this, there could be no better time for this, by the way, too, that you're doing this. I'm sure you thought about quitting, like you said, 1,000 times or deciding that the universe was telling you you can't move forward on this boot camp. If you had a message for people watching this from afar, if you had a opportunity to really help people understand what's really going on, what would you say?
I would definitely say don't only count on what you see or what you hear. Be curious. Curiosity for me is what will save us. And if you're curious about your values, if you have for yourself connection, safety, growth as a value, you have to be curious to, like you, Daphne, like to go and knock on people's door to know more, to dig more. And what saddens me in this world that people are not curious anymore to learn the truth or to go beyond what they receive as information.
Be
And this
curious.
is me
Yeah.
something that I really want and hope the world will go back to, because growing up in the digital era removes all of the curiosity because information comes to you. You
Yeah.
don't have to go search for it.
Hmm.
While past
Custom
generations
tailored for you. Yeah.
used to go and in libraries, on
Yes.
radio, try
Yeah.
to fight for answers and understanding. And now your algorithm thinks for you. You will
You're
get
being spoon fed. Yes. Thank you for saying
so.
that. Yeah.
So for me, it's like, please be curious beyond what you receive as information, because the reality is not there. The reality is what you are like, how life aligns with your own value. And go talk to people, go ask people, go read. Do not only allow
Yes.
yourself to binge receive
It is.
information, then make your own assumptions.
Their curiosity comes with a real sense of bravery, right? Where you have to really be brave in yourself. You have to be really strong in your own convictions to be curious. And I think sometimes that's the part people miss. They're happy to allocate it out to somebody else or, deter to what they watched or what they think they know. And that's really the pinnacle of why I wanted to have this conversation with you today, is because I cannot imagine anybody not loving you. Jen, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for not fucking shrinking. And I am sending all that I can in this moment to make sure that you continue this work that you're doing, because I hope you know how essential and how important you are. And that's not just to the women of your community or the women of your country. You showing up in this huge fucking way to say, there are so many reasons for me to quit. There are so many reasons for me to be afraid, and I'm not. Jen, how can people support or how can people learn more? Do you have a website that you can like share with us?
If people are curious to follow like my Beirut through my eyes, and again,
It's
I said the
gorgeous.
word curious,
It's like a
I'm
travel
just gonna
magazine. Yeah.
document a different reality from the media, because beyond this masculine toxic energy that we live in now,
Yeah.
there are things that are still like blooming. And I want to just mention one thing that came to my
Please.
mind this morning while I was watering my plants. I have a huge, like a lot of plants and flowers, and like I call it my garden. It's like a long balcony with so
Yes.
many like plants. And these plants survived since 2019, the biggest like apocalyptic wars explosion. And for months, I thought they were dead. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I'm not going to give up on them. I'm going to move them from my old apartment with me. And they went
Yes.
through everything. And this morning, while I was watering them, I was like, actually, being Lebanese is having a seed that even if it's not going to bloom with every season, at the right time, when you water it, and at the right time when she's ready, the plant is blooming again. And all my plants are just blooming this morning. And I was like, is this a lesson that I have to, like, they've been through everything too with me. And for a month, they were so tired, and I just allowed them to be tired. I still water them.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe we are like seeds. I don't want to call my plants resilient seeds. They're just like resilient plants. They're just plants who are in tune with life. And whenever they're ready, they will bloom, but doesn't mean they're dead. We're not afraid of living in darkness, because I think in darkness you find peace. We're acknowledging that we have a lot of light, we have a lot of darkness. And this is where in the middle you find peace. But yeah, I just really hope that one day more like not only women, but the whole country start dreaming again and hoping again. Because I think this is the only way through.
Jen, you're a force. You're absolutely a force. We are going to share your Instagram handles here in the show notes. Jen, thanks for being on the show today, and thanks for not fucking shrinking.
I won't. Thank you so much for having me.